This is Jody Lemieux, your host to the Spiritually Aligned CEO podcast, and you're listening to Conversations with Jody, your one divine guidance system, giving your mindset and business a spiritual facelift, tapping into energy, gaining inspiration, and up-leveling your life by tapping into your infinite potential. And on today's conversation, I have with me Suman Cherry. Suman Cherry is the CEO and founder of Cherry Talent Group. Suman, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Why are you so excited to be here? What is it for you to talk about leadership, but more importantly, the intuitive leadership?
Well, I think for me, I've done a lot of podcasts. I talk a lot about business and leadership and hiring and all those pieces. And I think it's so interesting. But the spirituality piece, or however you word, the intuitive piece, or the magic behind it, right? The energy, all those things. I don't have the opportunity a lot of times to talk about it. And I just love that this is an opportunity to have that conversation. Like, how important is it really to have these type of, conscious practices or spiritual practices or whatever it is? How much is it going to help me be more successful in my own business, right? Because there is a
Yeah.
correlation. So I love this conversation.
How do you see it moving throughout businesses?
Well, I think it goes back to ultimately, I believe that all of us are individually the creators of our own reality. I think that we create from within and we kind of push it out. I mean, that's just how I believe, right? So I believe the more that we as individuals have awareness of ourselves and understanding of who we are and what really our values are and what behaviors need to align to those values, what really lights us up, what is our passions. I feel like the way the spirituality or consciousness works is that once you understand that, then you create that business, that energy, right? It's its own piece around that space. And any limitations that come up within the company are really just limitations within yourself. So it always is like an opportunity. Like for myself, my own business is always an opportunity to be like, take a step back and be like, why am I having limiting beliefs to that? Where does that come from? Where's this root? To move through that as a human, which affects me in all aspects of my life and also allows me to receive more of my business, if that makes sense. Because the energy's more allowing within me, right? To allow what I want.
Yes, and what I loved what you said there, the root, because that's what it is. Once you understand your passion, your intuitiveness, the thing that lights you up, the thing that nobody really talks about, that energy behind that passion is that spirit that you are. So once you unleash that, once you get that root and allow it to come through you, that's where businesses thrive.
Right, for sure. Because, we live in a world of duality, right? So we are human. So we have human emotions, we have human experiences, it is designed to be this way. We learn, we fall, we make mistakes, we get up, we grow, we make, all the things. But there is another part of us that the duality is we're also soul, right? So our soul has these desires. So those things that you loved as a kid, like the things that I loved as a kid, is the things I love as a teenager, is what I do in my own business now, right? We were talking about this. Like I have always loved talking to people, learning about them, matchmaking, all the things, helping people, understanding them, and having conversations. And that's what I do every day in my life. So my job.
And I love what you said there, matchmaker. Tell me a little bit about how people have identified you as the matchmaker. What is it that they see in you that you have celebrated about yourself to really unleash this matchmaking ability?
I mean, I think I'm just like I'm a very intuitive person. I always have been, and most of us are, right? We just don't realize we are. Sometimes we question ourselves, and most of the time we're right. I just use that, right? I just really, I believe that everything is stored in the body. Like my body is sort of my reference point. A lot of times when I'm having conversations, I'm listening to the words, but I'm also feeling the energy of what's being said. How is it being portrayed? Where am I feeling that? Where's the tension? A lot of times I'll ask a lot of questions. I see what the responses are. Is this person someone who's very reactive, or are they reflective and are able to kind of take a step back, depending on the role? If you're in a role that's very high stress, high, like activity, a reactive, more energetic person maybe won't be the right match for that, but maybe a great salesperson, right? So I'm always sort of keying in on those types of things. I'm also a believer in your words matching your actions, right? So if I'm having a conversation with you and we set a commitment of something and I ask you to do something for me as a candidate or a client, and those commitments aren't being met, just like me as a responsibility piece, that also allows me to see the type of, you know, where you are in your own awareness, so to speak. I don't want to ever say anyone's good or bad because I don't believe anyone is good or bad. I think people are either aware of their own pain or they're not. That's it.
I like that analogy. They're either aware or unaware. So
Yeah.
let's dive in a little bit deeper to that. How or what do you see a company or an individual? How can they become aware of their own self, of their own soul? What is something that you like to have conversations around to allow that awareness to come through?
I mean, I think, anytime you're in the mindset of I'm right all the time, like there's no flexibility and listening to other people's viewpoints, and you're just so fighting for that, that's not soul, right? So when we are in our more of our aligned space, when we're connected to however you want to say that, whatever resonates with you, we take responsibility in our life. We take responsibility for make mistakes. We apologize. We don't have a problem with that. We have compassion for other people who maybe see the world a different way, but their experiences are different. So we don't automatically form judgments. I'm not saying we're not human because we're always human. So that human element will always be there, but we have more awareness to be observer to that. We might also, you are someone who is always growth oriented. You understand, like, in order to get to the other side of something, you have to go through the desert. And sometimes the desert's really difficult and uncomfortable, but you're willing to get support and help and ask for those things and question the beliefs. I think a lot of it is that, like, the work comes from questioning what we believe to be true about everything, like ourselves. Where did this come from? Where did this belief come from about myself? Is this really true? And having that understanding of who am I and what, and being able to shift that all the time, right? Like we are allowed to change our minds as well. So I think, I don't know if that makes any sense what I'm saying, but I think that people who are aware are people who don't see things as such a black and white thing. They understand that everybody's like on their own place and you get to make decisions. People who set boundaries, I think boundaries are very important. This is a conversation I have with clients. I actually had a conversation with my client, one of my clients today, a new client, and I said, man, you need to set some boundaries in these interviews, right? 2-3 hour interviews that are just wasting his time with a candidate who obviously wasn't that interested in the position, but he went ahead and sat for 3 hours when he could have been home with his family. Those are boundaries, right? So I don't know. Those are all the things. I'm sure with what you do, there's so many things that we can do, but it really just comes down to like awareness. I like to think to myself, like, I don't want to do things that hurt my own heart. Right?
So you want to do things that grow your heart, to
Yeah.
flourish your heart.
Right. And to me, judgment or revenge or anger, I mean, those are all normal emotions that we all have. And that's the thing. If you're someone who's always angry or always one way, it's probably an opportunity for you to look at yourself and say, why? Because usually it's something unmet in our own lives. And usually that unmet thing is that we're not connected to the greater place of ourselves and we're not actually living from our soul. We're actually living from our human self. And our human self is, and you understand this, like we've talked about this, like your mind is limiting.
Yes. I love what you're expressing here. You're expressing the understanding that A, responsibility, B, connection, and C is just becoming aware that these feelings that we have as humans are okay.
Yeah.
They are absolutely okay. It's bringing those feelings up to recognize them, to be aware of them, and then release them in order
Right.
to embrace what your soul is craving, what your soul
Right.
is calling you to do, or calling. It's really not a doing. It's more
No.
of like
Of a being. It's
a
just an
being,
embodiment.
this awareness, this consciousness that we keep talking about. And I know for me in my business, that's the way I started my business, because of this passion that I have for conversations with people, bringing this awareness of consciousness to live consciously rather
Yeah.
than being unaware. I was
Yeah.
unaware for so many years, and
Yeah.
it just felt very constricting. I felt like I
Yeah.
was following the grind of the 9 to 5 or whatever you want to call it. I
Right.
was following these patterns. And then there was something within me that said, there's got to be more to life than what I'm feeling and experiencing. And it was in that awareness. And we keep talking about awareness. There's that question of why. Why do I believe what I believe? Why am I doing business? What is the purpose behind business?
Yeah. And
And
that's the other piece, the
yeah,
purpose piece, because that's really ultimately what drives a business to success is that the purpose of the business. Like when it's aligned from a place that's going to create some value for all of us, right? It's just gonna and I really truly believe, like, I'm pretty woo, but we have shifted as a world, whether there's an awareness of it or not. 2024 is going to make, I think people are going to have more awareness of the patterns and the things that have kept us stuck as humans. They're not going to be something we can run away from. And the thing is, it affects everything, because if you're stuck in your home, like if you are someone, you're an executive, a CEO, and you have a business, but you feel stuck in your life, in your business, in your family, and everything else, it all just, you can't make choices.
so what would a solution be for releasing, unveiling, becoming aware? What is something that somebody can take away today from listening to the conversation that you and I are having, that they, in the next year or so, in the next however
Yeah.
long, it could be
Yeah.
tomorrow, could be today, could be
Right.
any, right.
I mean, I think the starting place is to start just questioning it, just asking the question. Like, that's all it starts with. It's as simple as that. But why do I believe this? Why do I get triggered? Why do my husband and I have the same fight over and over again? Is it really about the dishes? Where's my responsibility here? What's his responsibility? You know what I mean? At business, why don't I like my job? What am I not receiving here? Is it my job? Am I not asking for more? Am I over giving too much? I mean, these are the questions. Instead of looking for something outside of us to fix it, we start moving within. And that could be as simple as I started off doing just 5 minutes of meditation. Like just having, and meditation is not complicated. Just go sit in your office for 5 minutes and just turn your computer, your phone off, and just have some quiet. And someone asked me, like, well, what's the purpose of it? Because the purpose is when you do a meditation or you're quiet and you can hear your mind, you realize you're not your mind, you're not your emotions, you're the observer to it. So who's listening to all that? Then you can finally feel that connection to who we really are. Like, because who is listening to all our thoughts?
Right. And I love what you said, feeling that connection, because that connection's already there. Are
Once
you
you
aware of this connection?
what the thing is, once you feel the connection, once you allow the connection to come through, it's a natural process to move through it. It's not, and I think that's the thing people believe. It already is there. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're already whole. It's just, you just don't realize it. And obviously, I'm a firm believer in coaches and support. I really believe that you should work with a coach, whatever that resonates with you, because I think people who've gone through the process, who are on the other side of it, and they can hold a lot of space for you. If you've not ever felt, like for me, like going through the process of learning how to feel my emotions, it was like, whoa, that was difficult. That was difficult.
Difficult and doable when you have a support.
Difficult, difficult and doable, and so and yes, when you have the
Freeing.
support, oh, like I
Yeah.
would just never go back to the what it was.
Right. And the reason I bring up the support is because you shared with me about a group of women that you're connected with. And that's
Yeah.
what I want to kind of highlight here in our conversation. It's not that you need support in your awareness, in your own questioning of your own beliefs, but what occurs for you. I'm going to ask you specifically, why did you connect with these other women?
It's interesting because I'm working with a group of women. They're all 6, 7, figure women, all very successful entrepreneurs, have children, husbands, very successful. We just work on our energy because I don't want anything in me to stop me from creating what I dream of. And that's why I do the group. And I love it. I love being with a group of other women who are growth oriented. We're supportive of one another. We relate to each other because we go through so many of the same types of, because you believe that, like, I'm the only one like this, but you're not. It's like you think, oh my gosh, I'm 45. Why do I feel like a 5-year-old? Because sometimes you do. Sometimes you really feel like that little girl and you just need that support. It's just what it is. Or a little boy.
And what I love about community and surrounding yourself with what you identified, people who are in a growth mindset, people who encourage one another to really go inward to uncover more of who you are. Because in our humanness, I find for myself at times that in my humanness, it halts me from growth. It halts me
Of
from
course.
business. It halts me from things. And when you're surrounded with other people who are unleashing, tapping into,
Yeah,
allowing this awareness to come through, you feel more of a oneness. Like you said, we're not here
you do.
alone. We're here
You do.
collectively.
Yeah, and I think it's really powerful as well because, you know, they're telling their wins and you're seeing their success and you're like, "Oh my gosh." Like, wow, I can do it too, right? And there's just like there's not that thing. And there's a lot of accountability. I guess that's another piece. That's the other piece of spiritual or how to have more awareness. You got to keep promises to yourself. You have like if you're on a in order to build trust, you can't find it from something else. You have to find it within yourself. And the only way you can do that is you build commitment. So it could be as simple as like, I'm going to work out 3 days a week. And you just do it. You don't make any excuses and you just do it. It's just what it is. That's as
And
simple as that.
yeah, it's really simple. And that's what I've discovered, or really what has flowed is flow.
Yeah, I
And
love
life
flow.
just feels freeing. It feels light and airy.
Yeah.
And when I meet other people who are unaware, I understand where they're coming from because that's where I came from as well.
Yeah, me too.
And yes, once you release the unconscious of yourself and become conscious and consciously living, it's a whole different way of seeing life, of seeing business, of being in relationships.
Every, and I
And
think also as leaders, when you have conscious leaders, there's there's transparency at companies. And I think this is very important too, because companies need to understand this. People want transparency. I talk to candidates all the time and I'm like, why are you looking? I don't know. I feel like there's something going on with the company. There feels like something's being hidden. Yeah, and maybe nothing's being hidden, but there's no transparency. There's a lack of authenticity within the organization. The leaders aren't conscious in that understanding of they need to have transparency with their people because it's very important. So I think that's another piece. Like when you're a leader and you're very conscious and you're aware of your faults, or I don't want to say faults, but you're aware of the things that you need support in, you're just such a better leader. You have compassion, you have kindness, but you have boundaries, you have accountability. It's not like you're over giving. You have take response, you give people responsibility, accountability. If they don't follow through, that makes it very easy for you to let someone go as well. Right? And I mean, that's not a harshness to it. It's just that doesn't align versus keeping someone on because that happens too. Companies feel bad, they keep someone on for a very long time, and that's not positive for a company as well. It doesn't benefit both of them because the employee is usually miserable. They're unengaged. They don't have the opportunity to go grow and move out, and it's not allowing the company to grow. So it's a lot.
so, as we're concluding our conversation here, and the listeners who are listening in today, what is next? What is next
For people
for
as they're
people? Yeah.
yeah. So I just think that for people that this, which like the conversation we're having, this is, and you're seeing it more. I mean, you're seeing it in mainstream news, you're seeing it everywhere. This isn't going away. This is how it's going to be moving forward. And like, this is how companies are going to thrive. This is how we as humans are going to thrive. I mean, there is no way around it. Like, so if you want to thrive, which most of us do, because we do, then you have to start with whatever that looks like for you, whatever work that looks like for you. If it's just journaling or meditation or listening to YouTube, I mean, there's so many resources. But it's not about the what you choose to do. It's about taking the initiative to decide, I want to change. I want something different in my life.